Hey, what's going on everyone? It's Paper here with a new OTA video. We've got a smaller OTA than our more recent patches, but we've got another OTA that has only buffs. This is great for the game as the current meta is in a solid spot with new decks popping up seemingly every single day. The three cards that have gotten buffed today are all cards that have relatively low play rates with the aim of being able to get these cards into a better spot and play it a little bit more. So let's get right into it with our first card. Forge is getting buffed from a 2/1 that gives +2 power to the next card played to giving the next card +3 power. This is seemingly a minor buff, but when you look at the decks Forge is typically included in, you'll see that this one additional power is actually quite significant. Pairing Forge up with Deadpool, Brood, or Mr. Sinister will result in a significant gain over the previous version. I think Forge will excel in Destroy List as his one power on the board is relatively weak, and Destroy List can make up for that by getting rid of him, and I think it's just probably a little bit better than some of the other routes where he has to stay on the board as one power. The list I'm highlighting in today's video takes a different route from any of these strategies. The newest card in the game, Lady Deathstrike, has been viewed as a relatively mediocre card by most people. I think this Forge buff was mostly targeting Deathstrike, and it's great that this is happening while she's still in Spotlight Caches, so that people can get her this week, or people can have more of an idea of whether or not she's going to be worth it in the long run. I don't know that this change will make Deathstrike good enough, but I think it's one step that can actually have an immediate impact on her place in the meta. Forge now gives her +3 power, effectively doubling her power to 6. One of the rising decks in the game actually is the movement list that uses stuff like Silk and Captain Marvel, both of which have 5 power. With Deathstrike being a 6 power now, it can significantly destroy both of those cards, hindering the deck's power significantly. Having something that can destroy Captain Marvel does not exist in the game as of yet, but with Deathstrike we do have an option to get rid of that very powerful card. So this list here was originally posted on day 1 of Deathstrike's release by D-Money. D-Money is a great content creator and competitive player who also ended up winning an Infinity ticket with this list. Forge can be leveraged here to buff not only Deathstrike but Dakin as well to great effect. I'm excited to play this deck a little bit more as I played a bit of it in the pre-buff version, and it seems pretty decent. Deathstrike doesn't get off as much as we want to, but with Forge going up an additional power, there's a chance that Deathstrike will actually hit a lot more. So look out for Forge to show up in a lot of your games this weekend, as I think this change is going to spark a ton of ideas around the community. The next card that got changed is Shanna. I listed this as a buff, but it could also be read as a nerf. She went from 4/4 to a 3/2, which kind of mirrors what happened soon after her release, where she went from a 4/2 on release to a 4/4 after an OTA. The increase in power actually made her much more attractive to play in a deck, as the 2 power on the board was still quite weak. I'm not sure how exactly to feel about this change, as the 1-cost Zoo decks are simply not viable since Killmonger is so popular, and he's so easy to splash into any deck. I do think that this 2 power is going to be a little bit weak and they might need to buff her to at least a 3/3, but for now we'll see what happens at a 3/2, but I honestly don't have too much confidence in this card right now. So the deck idea that I have for this card involves running some sort of Dazzler deck utilizing both Shanna and Dazzler, as well as running Silver Surfer and Brood to kind of fill up our board a lot easier. This might not be Shanna's best home with this change, but anything with a 3 cost is eventually going to be experimented in Surfer lists no matter what. So I think that this might not be her best spot. However, the Kazar list is just not viable with Killmonger. The idea of running Shanna in this list is mostly as a way to fill every location if our play up to the final turn didn't quite meet the mark. To be clear, I still think Shanna is going to be a bad card, but this is just one home that she could find herself potentially in, and I'm going to experiment with this a little bit to see if there's anything here. The final card of this OTA that was changed is Crystal. Crystal has received yet another buff, this time going from a 4/4 to a 3/3. Crystal is an interesting card because we don't really have much draw in Marvel Snap, and she's a straight up draw card. It's notable that she also makes your opponent draw a card, which can suck in some cases, but the consistency that Crystal offers can really be great for combo decks, as we're already seeing her played in archetypes involving both Hela and Living Tribunal. As another card being buffed to 3 cost, Surfer is another natural home for Crystal, though I didn't want to include another Surfer list in this video, so we're going with something a little bit different. For this deck list, we're going to be looking at it running one of the biggest combo decks in the game, Hela Tribunal. Hela Tribunal is a terribly inconsistent deck due to needing specific cards in a specific order by turn 5. With Crystal, we have an additional way to get our combo pieces by drawing an extra card earlier in the game. We're including Magic, Jubilee, and Ironlight in this list as a way to extend the game, double up on effects, and effectively draw our entire deck by turn 7. I think this is one of Crystal's best homes in the game right now, even before the buff, so look out for Tribunal or Hela decks to pop up for the next week once again. I do foresee Cosmo becoming quite strong as people experiment with these decks as well as Surfer deck combinations with Crystal as well. Alright, and that about wraps up this OTA. The changes this week I don't believe will be super impactful, but the cards adjusted could see some upticks in play rates, which is always nice to see. I think we're in kind of a golden age for the Marvel Snap meta, as I don't really feel like anything is super oppressive and every deck seems to have a shot right now. Unique strategies are popping up every week, and all the recent OTAs and patches have mostly been buffs, which is exactly where I like this game being. Let me know what you think of this OTA in the comments below. Are you excited to experiment with these updates? Do you think Shanna will ever be good? Is it finally time for Crystal to be played? Personally think that last one might actually happen. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video down below and subscribe to my channel for more Marvel Snap content. I also stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays over on twitch.tv/paper, so give me a follow there and come hang out sometime. It's finally time to make Crystal viable, so I've got some work to do, but until next time, good luck snapping.